Oh, it's nice to be home. I thought there was more songs to prepare than there were, and I wasn't sure what I was going to play. And then I looked on the inspirational reading, and that is what one of the songs I prepared is about: being aware of your inner joy in a sort of metaphorical way. So that's an answer to prayer. Yeah. Does it mess you up, Anne, if I move this a little? Okay. Nothing messes Anne up. Oh, that'll hold, yeah. That'll hold, I think. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, TV people. This is called House on the Hill. It kind of starts with when we look out, and sometimes, I don't know, I walk through neighborhoods and I see houses that look so warmly lit, and I just have this whole fantasy of all the love that's going on inside those houses. Not thinking of my own house. It's kind of loud. Check. House on the hill is so beautiful. Love comes pouring out the door and fills up the yard with happiness, and the flowers dance. How does it feel to live inside? Do you come home every single night and skip through each room with the love of your life, and nestled in your house upon the hill? If I knock on the door, maybe they'll invite me inside. Sit me down on a white fur rug and drink some wine. Then show me my room so I can live there too. And here in my city box, I stare down to the sidewalk. A man walks by, he looks right up at me like he's wondering, he's imagining. If I knock on the door, maybe they'll invite me inside. Sit me down on a white fur rug and ask me why. I never realized that house on the hill got so beautiful when my big love consciousness started to grow. I spent so much time always looking outside, longing for my house upon the hill. From a window of my house upon the hill.
Thank you, Sally. That was great. Our inspirational reading today is coming from Elaine McKeever from her book, which is called Who is With Me? And she says, immediately I know that this was no ordinary man. Well, talking about men this morning. I sensed that sitting beside me was a very wise, quiet, extremely gentle person. I sensed that he had a very high consciousness. And it seemed to me that he must be a wonderful, important leader or ruler of some sort. Perhaps he was the president of some great worldwide business firm. If so, he was a different kind of business president, a very quiet, wise and peaceful one. Was he some great religious leader? a Buddhist priest. Somehow I knew that he was not connected with the teaching I followed, religious science. I knew that he did not use scientific prayer treatments as we did to fulfill our desires. It was not necessary for him to pray or treat for what he wanted. All he did was to sink his desires into universal mind, and they were manifested. In fact, I found that he could see deep into this, that I could see deep into this man's subconscious mind. And I saw that it was transparent, crystal clear, like shining glass. There was nothing in his subconscious mind to argue with the creative word he spoke. He created whatever he wanted by simply thinking it into universal mind.
Wow.
This morning our speaker is a lady who teaches. She is in a very special position because she is teaching English to different kinds of people from different countries. And as you can imagine, it is not an easy job to learn English. Speaking this morning to us on the topic, being aware of our inner joy, let us welcome Reverend Elaine Fuller-Zachey. Elaine.
It's not that easy to teach it either, that's right. I get a lot of joy from teaching. It's amazing people, you know. Well, being aware of our inner joy, yes. Well, joy, I like to define things because I like to know what is going on. So, joy, it's God's own happiness. Joy is the underlying reality of the universe. We sense this joy when we release the boundaries of our consciousness into God, that's into infinity, existence without boundaries, while still maintaining our individual experience within and as part of that infinity. When we realize that we are each a Christ, that is a spiritual being, as a teaching of Inner Christ, or TIC, founders Anne and Peter Meyer present, we feel that inner joy. Our awareness of the spiritual center that we all have, you know, our inner Christ, is awareness of God. And so we feel it as joy. The joy that God is. God always exists. That joy always exists. Our job, if we choose to be happy, is to accept it and be aware of it in that way. The teaching of the Inner Christ guides us to do just that. Isn't that great? It's a good thing to celebrate. And October 19th, yes, 1962, Christ-level spiritual teacher Babaji visited Anne Meyer and placed in her mind a new teaching which revealed itself to her step by step as she assimilated it. In addition, Babaji had been instructing Peter Meyer for many years. Anne and her husband Peter founded and incorporated the teaching of the Inner Christ in 1966. Anne and Peter meditated to bring about TIC's first course, Inner Sensitivity. This course has enabled thousands of students, thousands of us, to receive conscious contact with our inner Christ, and to define that conscious contact, and to also engage in scientific prayer that really works. As a result, many healings have been taking place. They're still going on, and many people have been changing their lives for the better. Awareness Day was established in 1969, October 19th, 1969. This day celebrates Ann and Peter Meyer becoming aware of and sharing the spiritual truth that omnipresent God expresses God's self in and as each of us. Now we celebrate this day on the closest Sunday to October 19th. On this day, we may consider all we've evolved into as a result of Ann and Peter and Babaji's work. Thanks to them, we can dip into the truth about omnipresent God really being omnipresent, including as each of us. We may access our own inner wisdom about this truth, the truth that we are each a unique version of God, that we are each a unique part of God. Omnipresence is, after all, omnipresence, isn't it? It has one meaning: present everywhere. Therefore, it has to be us. We are each a unique version of God, a splinter of the tree of life. There's peace and joy and meditation about this. And I heard Anne say that Christ is God made manifest. That's what it means. Right? Manifest, meaning expressing as material, coming about. We can look at it this way. 1, God is omnipresent. That means everywhere present. 2, whatever exists is not just in but of this omnipresence. And we exist. Therefore we are, who are we? Who? What? We're God. I mean, what? That's logic, right? Since God is omnipresent, that's everywhere. We can't be anything else but this. Nothing exists but God. We're equal in this too, aren't we? Everything is. Everything is holy. Everything is divine. Everything is spirit and spiritual, including everything here in the physical. How great is that? So we can reach that awareness here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ, and also online with instruction from Reverend Marianne Kelly. So I invite you to go online. Here's food for thought. How does the realization of this godness of being, this oneness of being, affect fighting and arguing with each other? Theft, abuse. Huh? What about the realization of the godness of all, the oneness of being? How does it affect kindness to each other, helpfulness, love, service? Who are we involved with? And fighting, arguing, stealing, abusing, loving, being kind to, serving, and helping. Who is doing these things? As us or to us? Oh, Anne Meyer McKeever taught me that when we pray for another, we heal ourselves. How? Why? How? Well, the key here is the oneness of being. Whatever we do or for someone or something else, we do or for ourselves. Right? And the reverse is true. Whatever someone is doing to or for us, it's our own selves doing that something to or for us. we can follow this, right? Follow this line of thought. One is one, right? We are this one, each and all of us. Let's be kind to each other, because when we do, we're being kind to ourselves. As for me, knowing that I am a Christ is inner joy. Thanks to Anne, Peter, and Babaji, I came to Christ awareness, therefore to joy awareness, through the teaching of the inner Christ. And I do have a lot to celebrate on this Awareness Day. At one time, the drive for education, to fill in the holes of what I knew about life, was really, really strong. It was strong for years and years and years. It still is, but it's changed. It was a need. It wasn't a desire, it was a need. It was part of what I came to this earthly life to do. And my ex-husband didn't see it that way. And that's a long story. That's boring and not worth talking about. So, at any rate, one thing led to another, and we wound up getting divorced here in California. At that time, we had a son, and I had custody. I was on and off welfare. I went to San Diego State University. Freedom to do what I came to do. And I got a bachelor's there and a master's of arts. And I took courses that filled in just an awareness of, my culture, and guided me to practice writing and expressing through written word in an understandable way. And my plan was, I'll get the education, then I'll get my career teaching, because education was great. I never wanted to leave it, and I just decided to take a sidestep from being a student to being a teacher. And now being a teacher is still being a student. And then I thought, then next would come something political, right? Step to the, But I realized that it's not politics, it's a spiritual expression. I wanted the highest, most wonderful expression that I had come here to experience, to learn about, to know, and to share, and that it was a spiritual path. So I went to the Unitarian Universalist Church, and then to various metaphysical organizations, and they were exactly perfect for me at the time. And then I went to teaching of the inner Christ, and here I found Reverend Ann Meyer McKeever, at the time Reverend Ann Meyer. I took every class possible from her. I took inner sensitivity again and again and again, and it was, and you do learn new things when you take inner sensitivity again. And I just had to be around her vibration. So I started going to Sunday services and sitting next to her and cuddling up into that aura and just soaking it up and letting it heal and lift me. When I told her about it later, she wasn't aware of it at all. And finally one day, instead of just walking past the membership table and saying hi to the person there, I took the opportunity to sign up. I knew I was going to. And I was actually looking for a new place to study for the ministry. I'd been looking for a real spiritual home, and this is it. It makes sense. TIC makes sense. God is perfection everywhere now. We exist, and so we are this God within it, as it. Right? That makes sense. It's logical. It makes sense. And when we access this, we can do it through our inner Christ. So I have a sense of stability and rightness and a sense of self-acceptance now. And then there's the vibration, the feeling, that power. It's a flame for me. It's a fire, and it starts here, and it spreads. And all of a sudden, boom, it's everywhere. And sometimes it gets chills, and sometimes it's just the fire, the fire. All anxiety, fear, boundaries just go away, and I step into that beingness, that awareness of reality. It's a realization of the rightness of being, of whatever it is all that is, and it's perfect. I can both see things happening in the universe, inside my mind, hugeness, blackness, stars, power, motion, and I could feel vibration. I could just feel, joy isn't the right word, it's expansiveness. But joy is the only word I can think of. And within this context, of course, we are each a Christ. What other context is there, We're each a part of God, within God itself. What else can we be? We thank Anne and Peter and Babaji for sharing this with us. I mean, the terminology is new, the details is new that they gave us, but this is information that's been here for as long as God has, because God is truth. And I came here to TIC for help in this, for help in realizing this. What about you? How are you aware of this inner joy? What is it to you? Have you defined it in your own words? How did it feel? How does it feel? Was it a big boom in your consciousness, or did it slowly evolve? For me, it evolved, even starting in childhood. Then it kind of slept for a while, made me antsy and nervous and agitated until I followed it again. And I never had that big boom breakthrough because it was just, I'd had it before. Didn't know what it was or didn't know what to do with it. And teaching of the Antichrist taught me, guided me. What about you? What about someone in the audience sharing briefly about how you came to this Christ realization, your own Christ realization? How did it feel? Anybody have a comment? Yes, Reverend Kayla Rose Carroll.
Way back in 1972, I was taking inner sensitivity, and we did our first tipping of the table, and it came to me, and I kept getting this feeling, and I thought, what is that? I was concentrating on what else was going on, and yet I kept getting this thing up my back. And I thought, and it kept appearing. And so the table, they channeled that its name was Cana, K-A-N-A. And I thought, oh, okay, now it was beginning to make sense because I was a complete novice of this. My life was in chaos, my life was falling apart, and I won't go into that detail, it's another long story and boring. And so I was at one table in the front room, my daughter was at another table in the back kitchen. And on the way home, she said, we had the strangest thing happen to our table. I said, what happened? She said, well, this entity kept coming in. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, it spelled its name Cana. And it said that I would know the truth. And I said, you would know the truth. And I said, what, you know, so we went ahead to discuss it. And I said, well, I got this thing up my back, and its name's Cana. And when I said the name Cana, it happened again. And I realized that Cana was my inner Christ. And it was interesting to me because I was really not a full believer at that time. And but I noticed that when things would happen that were more chaos in my life, I would speak Cana's name and up would come the signal. And it was such a joy to me that I never felt alone again. I didn't have to handle everything myself. I had the support of my inner Christ. And it never goes away. Now I have since evolved into other Christ beings in my life, but at that time I needed Cana to show me the truth and to show my daughter the truth. So I just never feel alone again. If something's going on, I just speak my Christ name, and up the signals come, and I just know that all's well.
Wow, thank you. Anyone else want to share? Yes. Carolyn, please.
So kind of like you, Elaine, I was on a quest, and I was studying at the Christ Word Ministry in Escondido, which was Flower Newhouse's establishment, and but the founder had Alzheimer's by the time I got there. And so then I was sort of disappointed because I wanted to meet the founder, and soak in the aura, like you said. And then I went to the teaching of Saint Germain, and the founders of that teaching had made their transition as well. So they would have their conferences, and they would have empty chairs at the table for the founders. And I was disappointed again. I'm like, I want to go somewhere where the founder, where I can kiss the cloak, So I heard about the teaching of the inner Christ, and it was down in El Cajon, and Jennifer Allen at the time was the secretary, and I arrived there, and I walked in the door, and I said, excuse me, is the founder of this organization alive? And she said, yes. And I said, is she in her right mind? She said, well, yeah, she's in her office right down there. Paul, do you want to meet her? And anyhow, I went to meet Anne, and I received my inner Christ connection and walked out of the office and couldn't feel the ground for about 3 days. I said, this is the place for me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sure there are a lot of other stories out there, but we need to go eat after the service. So I frequently become aware of the overarching presence of God in the morning. Early morning, It's early and my mind is uncluttered and it's clear. And that's usually my prayer and meditation time too. I feel the holiness and just the joy and the calm of God at that time. So that's a good time for me to make that contact during the day, And thank you for listening. So let's celebrate today. Celebrate our awareness of truth. that we are within this perfection everywhere now that is God. And with this, we are aware of joy, the joy that is God. Thank you.